Nakikita po ba?
Yes, Neng.
So, good morning po. Wait lang. So, today po, we are going to discuss the mass and weight measurements in chapter 3. But before that, um, get to know our group 3 members. I am Magsino Mika Janelle, and together with Salazar Trina Angeli, Paris Krisha Jean, Generoso Janus, Salameda Eliza Gabriel, Cruzat Shamil, Espinili Jeneline. So for the introduction, although the terms mass and weight are often used interchangeably, they represent different physical concepts. Mass is a measure of an object's resistance to changes in motion or inertia when at rest. It is calculated as the product of an object's density and volume. On the other hand, weight refers to the gravitational force acting on an object due to Earth's gravity. It is determined by multiplying the object's mass by acceleration due to gravity. The physical objects used to represent mass are often referred to as weights, which contributes to the common confusion between mass and weight. So, yung mass at weight, magkaiba talaga sila lalo na pagdating sa consistency. Ang mass, kahit saan ka pumunta sa Earth or Moon, pare-pareho lang siya. Kasi fundamental property siya ng matter. Pero yung weight, nagbabago siya depende sa gravity. For example, yung kung 60 kilograms ka dito sa Earth, sa Moon, mga 1/6 lang nun kasi mas mahina yung gravity doon. Kaya masasabi na stable yung mass habang yung weight variable at ay nakadepende sa environment. Um, in the international system or units SI, the globally adopted metric system, the standard unit for measuring mass is the kilogram, while the unit for force, which includes weight, is the newton. In contrast, the U.S. customary system uses the slug as the unit of mass and the pound as the unit of force. However, in everyday American usage, the term pound is frequently used to describe mass. This is because since 1893, the pound has been officially based on the kilogram, further blurring the distinction between mass and weight in common practice. So ayun, alam naman natin na kahit standard na talaga ang SI unit sa buong mundo, hindi pa rin siya fully adapt ang lahat ng bansa dito. So, for example, kagaya ng nabanggit kanina na sa US, ginagamit pa rin nila yung pounds at slugs. Ang nangyayari tuloy, kailangan nilang mag-convert ng values kapag may scientific or engineering work na kailangan i-compare internationally. Kaya importante na alam naman natin yung pagkakaiba at tama yung conversion kasi kahit simpleng pagkakamali sa units, pwedeng magdulot ng malaking problema. For the weighing instruments, platform beam balance. This Ohaus brand platform balance is a triple beam poise carriage balance. This type of balance was patented in 1932. To determine the weight of the object placed in the weighing pan, the weights, known as poise, must be moved along the beams for hundreds, tens, and units or grams. The beams are horizontal arms to which the pan is fixed. So, the platform beam balance, like the Ohaus triple beam balance, has been used for decades because it provides accurate mass measurements without electricity, making it reliable for schools, laboratories, and field work. So, next slide is the video na ginagamitan ng platform beam balance. So, yun, nakita naman natin na parang normal na timbangan lang siya na maglalagay ka ng bagay tapos ikaw nang bahalang mag-adjust sa weight. The next is platform dial scale. The Ohaus balance was introduced on the market in 1957. It marked a milestone in the history of this company by introducing a new system of counterweights. Ohaus introduced a dial system that was turned to stabilize the beam in a perfectly horizontal position. When the arrow of the beam is stabilized, the position of the dial indicates the weight of the object placed in the pan. This balance, known as a dial-o-gram, or because of this system can measure weights up to 310 grams. So, the Uhaus platform dial scale introduced in 1957, it was the first balance to use a dial system instead of sliding weights. This innovation was considered modern at the time and became popular in schools and laboratories for its accuracy, simplicity, and convenience. Next one is the Toledo balance. This Toledo balance was manufactured in the USA in 1945. It is based on a system of counterweights. The object to be weighed is deposited on the pan, and the counterweight equilibrates the two ends of the weighing arm. A needle indicates the correct reading. This balance can weigh objects up to 2,500 grams. So, unlike smaller laboratory balances, it was designed to handle heavier loads while still giving precise readings, which made it valuable in industries, markets, and laboratories. So, fun fact, its strong build and dependable performance helped establish Toledo as a leading name in weighing technology worldwide. Next one is the analytic balance. This electric model of a Sartorius analytic or precision balance dates from the 1950s. The analytic balance that can measure precisely very small masses of substances in the order of the milligram is essential to laboratory work, especially for chemical analysis. The mechanism is completely hidden in the back and is thus protected from dust and shocks. The glass door on the front opens and closes to allow the user to weigh the samples. Adjustable legs ensure that the instrument is always level. So, hindi po tayo nakahanap ng video na nagpapakita kung paano siya gamitin. Pero, uh, yung analytic balance is considered one of the most important instruments in scientific research. So, katulad nung nabanggit kanina, protected siya from dust and shocks. So, dahil doon, pwede siyang gamitin for a very small samples. So, it is designed to minimize errors by protecting the mechanism from air currents, vibration, and handling, which could affect results. Next one is the electronic analytic balance. So, katulad nung sa kanina, mas ano siya, mas modern siya compared din sa analytic balance. This Mettler electronic analytic balance was purchased in 1976 by a research team from the Armand Frappier Institute. It is in it is in It is an essential laboratory instrument that can measure with great precision very small quantities of solid or liquid material. It is one of the first models of its category to integrate electronics as a basis for functioning. So, the electronic analytic balance marked a major step in laboratory technology because it replaced manual adjustment with digital accuracy and faster readings. Unlike traditional balances, yung katulad nung sa kanina, it is offered automatic calibration, digital displays, and greater sensitivity which reduce human error and save time in experiments. So parang nagagamit na natin siya through sa kapag kunyari nagkakape kayo, nakikita niyo na tinitimbang yung mga coffee grounds. And the dial torsion balance. This rectangular box is a precision balance known as a torsion balance because its functioning is based on the torsion of a metal wire. This model can be used to determine the weight of small objects. The instrument was used at the Institute the Microbiology at the Hygiene in 1977. So here is an example of it. So unlike other balances that rely on counterweights or dials, it operates on the principle of torsional elasticity, which allows for precise readings of tiny samples. This precision and reliability made it a trusted instrument for research and analytical work. So ayun, hindi po ata mag-play pero meron pong dalawang object na ilalagay din sa lalagyan tapos para lang siyang normal na timbangan na may tataas at may bababa. Ayun. Ayan, yung sa baba, yun lang yung ginamit niya para makita kung anong mas mabigat. So for the two-pan balance, a two-pan balance is a device for measuring mass. It is often used to equilibrate 2 by 2 solutions that will undergo centrifugation. By proceeding in this manner, the volumes may be different, but the weights will be identical. This instrument must be installed on a flat, stable surface. So, it is one of the oldest and most recognizable weighing instruments that is often associated with the traditional scales of justice, kung mapapansin nyo. It works on the principle of direct comparison where the mass of an unknown object is measured against standard weights. Because of its simple design and reliability, it has long been used in education, commerce, and laboratories. So katulad nung sa kanina na nakita natin, para lang siyang pinagsama-sama yung two-pan balances and yung kauna-unahan na platform beam balance.
Now, let's talk about metrology standards. First, metrology is the science of measurement, and it's not just about measuring, but also about ensuring the measurements are consistent, accurate, and reliable. The International Organization of Legal Metrology plays a significant role in setting international standards for weight measurements. The International Organization of Legal Metrology sets guidelines and recommendations for weighing instruments used in trade, ensuring global consistency. OIML R76 states these recommendations provides guidelines for the performance and design of weighing instruments used in trade and commerce. It specifies requirements for various types of weighing devices, including the non-automatic weighing instruments, which require manual operation to weigh items. The second one is automatic weighing instruments. These perform weighing automatically and include devices like digital scales. Next is OIML R111. This recommendation covers the specification for test and calibration equipment used to verify the accuracy of weighing instruments. It ensures that the testing methods and equipment are standardized and reliable. And the third one is OIML R60. This standard deals with the specification for test weights used in the calibration and verification of weighing instruments. It provides guidelines on the manufacturing and use of reference weights to ensure consistency and accuracy. These standards po are adopted worldwide, and in the Philippines dito po, we align with them through our local agency, the Department of Trade and Industry, particularly through the Bureau of Philippine Standards, which ensures the consumer protection by checking scales in marketplace. And the Philippine National Metrology Institute, the OST, provides reference and calibration services, which means that the weighing scale na nakikita po natin sa mga pharmacy, supermarket, and sari-sari stall ay compliant po, nag-comply po sa mga standards na ito. Next po. Next slide po. Next is calibrating weighing instruments. It involves a series of steps to ensure accuracy and precision in measurements. The process can vary slightly depending on the type of weighing instrument. It may be electronic scales or mechanical balances. First step is to read the manufacturer's manual to understand the specific calibration requirements and procedures for your instrument. Since each weighing instrument po may have different calibration requirements, meron pong scales use built-in calibration modes, and yung iba naman po require manual adjustment. So pag nag-skip po ng step na ito, it may cause errors or even damage the instrument. The second step is to ensure the weighing instrument is on a stable level surface. Yung surface po must be solid and free from vibration kasi yung mga uneven or shaky tables may cause fluctuating readings. Third is turn on the instrument and let it warm up according to the manufacturer's recommendations. This helps ensures that the instrument is at its optimal operating temperature. Electronic instruments need time po to stabilize their electronic and sensors. Yung warm-up time naman po is usually stated sa mga manual. Fourth is ensure that the weighing pan and surrounding area are clean and free from any materials that might affect measurements. Yung dust po, dirt, or leftover material can affect sa weight reading. So, need po na i-ensure na yung pan is clean and dry. Kasi yung small particles po can shift readings by milligrams, which is critical po sa mga laboratory work. The fifth one is use the zero function to reset the instrument to zero before starting the calibration process. This ensures po the instrument starts from a true baseline. If hindi po yung display does not return sa zero, need pong i-repeat yung process. The sixth is use weights that are certified and traceable to national or international standards. These weights should be close to the range of weights that the instrument will measure. Next slide po. Next. Next is for single calibration. Place a single certified weight on the scale and adjust the calibration settings according to the manufacturer's instructions. For multi-point calibration, for higher accuracy, use multiple weights at different points across the instrument's range. Place each weight in turn and adjust as necessary. Next is after calibration, verify the instrument's accuracy by weighing the certified weights again, and the result should match the known values within the tolerance, the acceptable tolerance. If yung error po ay masyadong mataas, i-repeat ko yung adjustments. Next is if the weights don't match, make the necessary adjustments according to the manufacturer's instructions until the readings are accurate. So pag continue lang po until na yung scale are consistent and nag-show ng correct results. Next is document the calibration process, including weights used, adjustments made, and any issues encountered. This record is important for traceability and quality control. And the last one is follow a regular calibration schedule based on usage, environmental conditions, and manufacturer recommendations to ensure ongoing accuracy. Since yung calibration nga po is not a one-time activity, need po na regular yung schedule, depende sa dami ng gamit ng frequency of use, environmental conditions, at manufacturer's recommendations.
So for chapter 4 naman po, we will be discussing the length measurement. So length refers to the measurement of distance. It tells us how far or long something is. Sa international system of units, sinasabi na yung length is the most important base quantities because many other measurements depend on it. Example is kapag hahanapin natin yung speed, kailangan ng time multiplied sa distance. So yung length, important siya doon. Then, yung length, weight, at saka width, ay, length, height, at saka width ay iba-iba. As you can see sa figure, yung height is yung vertical measurement, yung width or tinatawag ding breadth ay side-to-side measurement naman. Tapos yung length is yung natitira. Then, quick history naman ng measuring length ay nag-start nung when humans moved from nomadic life to permanent settlements. People needed to measure for building houses, dividing lands, trading goods, and making tools. One of the smart one of the earliest units was cubit. One cubit ay equal siya sa distance ng ating elbow hanggang sa tip ng ating middle finger. Yung other example pa niya is sa ating mga Pilipino is yung kapiranggot or yung isang dipa. Ang isang dipa is yung kapag naka-outstretch yung kamay natin, tapos yung dalawang tip ng ating kamay, yun yung isang dipa. Kaso, nagkakaroon ng problema kasi halimbawa, yung isang dipa ni Miss Perez ay iba sa isang dipa ni Miss Magdalena. So, nagkakaroon siya ng confusion at unfairness kapag nagte-trade at construction. That's why nagkaroon ng standardized units. Ito na yung alam natin na units ngayon. Yung SI units, yung kapag mga smaller units ang gamit natin millimeter, centimeter, pag larger units naman ay yung kilometers. Then yung US customary system or yung English system naman, dito yung mga foot, yard, mile, yung mga inch, gano'n. Tapos kapag mas broad naman siya na or mas malalaki naman yung sinusukat natin, ay ginagamit natin yung astronomical units katulad ng light year at parsec. Then sa measuring devices naman, ito yung mga common or yung mga alam natin na ginagamit. Number one is yung ruler. Yun yung simplest tool to measure or draw straight lines. It is common in school, engineering, and construction. Then yung scale ruler, para din siyang ruler pero mas gamit siya ng mga ang scale ruler naman mas gamit siya ng architects at engineers kasi mas ginagamit siya kapag mag-i-scale ng ito-drawing na machine or buildings. Halimbawa sa atin, kapag kunwari sa MAEL, kailangan natin ng scale kasi hindi naman natin pwedeng i-drawing mismo yung sukat ng isang machine kasi hindi siya kakasya sa papel. So, yun yung mga pwedeng gamitan ng scale ruler. Then, yung caliper. Ang caliper naman is used to measure the distance between two opposite sides of an object. It can be simple, yung manual, or yung advanced na digital. So, calipers are more precise than rulers. Then, ito naman yung mga ibang types ng calipers. Yung first type is yung inside caliper. Ang inside caliper naman is uh, it measures internal dimensions like mga inside diameter ng mga pipe. Then outside caliper naman ay nagme-measure naman siya ng external dimensions like yung outside diameter ng cylinder. Then divider caliper, it looks like a compass. Ginagamit siya sa metalwork to mark equal distances or measure distances on maps. Then, ad-leg caliper naman or hermaphrodite caliper, gamit siya to mark a line at a set distance from the edge of a workpiece. So, unlike yung ibang calipers, it is not used for measuring diameters but for marking lines mostly. Yes po.
Next, we have the vernier caliper. Ito po ang commonly na caliper na ginagamit natin kasi andito na yung for measuring inside and outside of diameter of a object or kung ano man. A vernier caliper is a measuring tool that can measure outside size, inside size, and even the depth of a hole. It has two rulers, the main ruler and the smaller sliding ruler. By matching their lines, you can get very accurate measurements, usually up to two hundredths of a millimeter. It's more accurate than a regular ruler and is very handy in school, labs, and workshops. Ang example nito is kunwari may papalitan kang ball bearing sa isang machine. So, bago mo palitan ito at mabili mo yung right size ng ball bearing, you can use the vernier caliper para sure ka sa ball bearing na mabibili mo. Next is the dial caliper. A dial caliper works almost the same as the vernier caliper, but instead of a reading small lines, it has a round dial with a needle. The needle points directly to the measurement, making it faster and easier to read. It can also measure outside size, inside size, steps, and depths. It's more delicate than the vernier but more user-friendly. It is commonly used in machine shops or quality checking, where quick and accurate measurements are needed. Example, nagpapabricate kayo ng mga metal rods, mas madali siyang gamitin ang dial caliper kaysa sa vernier caliper. Kasi dito, titingnan mo na lang sa dial caliper yung exact size. Samantalang sa ano naman, sa vernier caliper is magbibilang ka pa ng mga lines, yung mga linya na nandun. Next is the micrometer. A micrometer or screw gauge is a very precise tool for measuring small objects like thin wires, sheets, or small parts. Instead of a dial or ruler, it works like a tiny screw. When you twist the knob, the tip moves slowly to pinch the object. And because of the screw movement, it can measure super small sizes, even up to 1,000th of a millimeter. It's more accurate than both vernier and dial calipers. It is often used in engineering, electronics, and manufacturing. Kung gusto mo sukatin yung yung kapal ng isang copper wire, you can use this, the micrometer. Next, please. The filler gauge. A filler gauge is a small tool made of thin metal strips with different thicknesses. These strips are used to check the gap or clearance between two parts. You just slide you just slide the strip into the gap until you find the one that fits perfectly. It's not for measuring overall size but for checking how tight or loose the space is. Ito ay commonly na ginagamit sa mga automotive, sa mga kung may nakakaalam dyan mga mga pagawaan ng sasakyan. Ito ay ginagamit lalo na sa engine, ginagamit 'to sa spark plug. Chine-check nito yung pagitan ng electrodes sa spark plug. Next, we have the gauge block. A gauge block is a block of metal that is made with an exact size. These blocks are very precise and can be stuck together to get a specific measurement. They are usually kept in a set with different thicknesses. Instead of measuring directly, gauge blocks are used to calibrate or check if other measuring tools are still accurate. Ito ay commonly used in laboratories, workshop to test and adjust tools like the micrometer and the other calipers. Next is the Gunter's chain. A Gunter's chain is a long measuring chain, usually 66 feet or 20-meter long, made of a metal links. It was an old but reliable tool used in land surveying. Each chain has a standard length so surveyors can measure large distances by laying the chain on the ground repeatedly. Although it's less common now because the modern tools, yung Gunter's chain na yan, yung ginagamit nung unang panahon sa pagsusukat ng mga lupa. Kung ngayon man ang ginagamit na is yung may sinisilip, yung parang may scope. Kung noon, yung Gunter's chain ang ginagamit.
Next is meter stick. I think lahat naman tayo ay nakakita na ng meter stick. Basically, it's like a longer version of a ruler, usually 1 or 2 meters long. Minsan straight lang siya, minsan foldable para mas madaling dalhin. Madalas itong gawa sa wood or plastic and ginagamit ito sa mga construction. Ang kagandahan ng meter stick is based on the metric system, which is the standard system used almost everywhere in the world. Kaya consistent siya. Unlike before, iba-iba ang measurements per country. May gumagamit ng feet, may gumagamit ng cubits, pero now, the meter stick give us one reliable base length. Next is the opsometer, also called a curvimeter, mylograph, or map measurer. This is designed to measure curved lines, something na hindi kaya ng straight ruler. Meron siyang maliit na gulong na iro-roll mo along the curve, tapos based on the rotation, makukuha mo yung total length. Imagine, mapa ka ng isang river system. Tapos, kailangan mong malaman kung gaano kahaba yung river. Kung ruler ang gagamitin mo, you only get the straight line distance, which is wrong. Pero gamit ang opsometer, you will get the true curve length. Some advanced opsometer even have a dial or digital readout para automatic ang measurement. Kaya sobrang useful ito sa mga surveying, map making, and geology. Next is surveyor's wheel, also called click wheel, odometer, waywiser, trundle wheel, measuring wheel, or perambulator. Imagine a bigger wheel na iikot mo sa lupa or kalsada. Every full term ng gulong, usually 1 meter or 1 foot, depende sa design. So as you push it, nare-record niya ang sukat ng buong path. Example, kung gusto mong sukatin ang haba ng isang road, masyadong hassle if ililay down yung tape measure ng 500 meters. Pero kung may surveyor's wheel ka, you just walk along the road and the counter will record the distance for you. Ganit, ganito rin ang gamit sa sports field, parks, at construction project. Next is tape measure. This is a flexible ruler that can be made from cloth, plastic, fiberglass, or metal. The flexibility makes it very useful kasi pwede mo na sukatin ng straight distance and also curves. Everyday life, we see tape measure everywhere. Example sa tailoring. Mananahe use a tape measure to get waistline or leg length. Sa carpentry, ginagamit para sukatin ang wood or metal parts. Sa bahay, ginagamit din kung gusto mong magsukat ng space for a cabinet or appliances. Ngayon, let's talk about the international standards. Having tool is important, pero kung iba-iba ang system ng bawat bansa, magiging magulo. For example, kung gagawa ka ng machine parts dito sa Pilipinas at ipapadala mo sa Japan, pero iba ang units ng sukat, hindi sila magpipit together. That's why standards exist. We mainly follow two important systems, SI units at ISO. Sa SI units, the meter is the base unit of length. Ang maganda dito, standardized siya worldwide. So 1 meter in the Philippines is exactly the same as 1 meter in the France or Japan. ISO or International Organization for Standardization, they set more detailed rules and guidelines. Example, ISO 1000 gives clearly guidelines for using the metric system, and ISO 286 sets tolerance for mechanical parts. Next is standards organizations. To make sure na sinusunod ang standards, there are organizations in charge of maintaining and enforcing them. First is BIPM or International Bureau of Weights and Measures. This is the main international body that keeps the SI system consistent. They are the ones ensuring that the definition of 1 meter, 1 kilogram, 1 second is the same across the world. Without BIPM, baka iba ang definition ng 1 meter sa bawat bansa. Next is NIST or National Institute of Standards and Technology. This is the standards organization in the United States. They handle calibration, measurements, and testing for industries. Example, when producing medical equipment, NIST ensures na exact ang measurements para safe gamitin. And last is NPL, which is National Physical Laboratory. Similar sa NIST, pero based in the UK, they provide precision testing and calibration for industries and research. Example, sa aerospace industry, they check if materials and components meet exact specification.
Volume refers to the amount of three-dimensional space enclosed within a boundary, essentially, the space that a substance, whether solid, liquid, or gas or plasma, occupies. In the SI system, volume is typically measured in cubic meters. When referring to containers, volume usually means the capacity, that is, how much fluid, liquid, or gas the container can hold, rather than the space it physically takes up. Mathematical shapes in three dimensions are also assigned volumes. For simple geometric forms like cubes, cylinders, or spheres, volume can be calculated using basic formulas. For more complex shapes, volume is determined using integral calculus, provided a mathematical expression for the shape's boundary exists. In contrast, one-dimensional or lines and two-dimensional like squares and circles figures have zero volume in three-dimensional space. The volume of these irregular solids can be measured using liquid displacement by observing how much liquid is displaced when the object is submerged. This method can also be adapted to estimate the volume of gases. When combining two substances, the total volume is usually greater than that of either substance alone. However, if one dissolves into the other, the resulting volume may not be simply additive. Now let's move on to the volumetric vessels and other tools. Laboratories use a variety of vessels and instruments to prepare solutions and handle liquids. These tools differ in terms of their intended use and the level of precision they offer. Accurate volume measurements must be taken at a constant temperature, as liquids expand or contract with temperature changes. For instance, water occupies significantly less volume at 10 degrees Celsius than at 80 degrees Celsius. Most volumetric glassware is calibrated at 20 degrees Celsius, and this calibration temperature is usually marked on the vessel. If the temperature changes during a procedure, such as during acid dilution, which releases heat, the measured volume may be inaccurate. For example, measuring the volume of a hot acid solution immediately after dilution will yield a larger volume that it will have once cooled. Therefore, maintaining a consistent temperature is crucial for precise volume measurements. Now let's move on to the devices for measuring volumes of liquid. The first one is beakers. Beakers are used for approximate determination of the volume of liquids and thus are not necessarily classified as measuring tools. They are used especially for dissolving compounds, diluting liquids, heating, and other operations. Beakers are unique for their beak that is used to pour liquids. Because of low accuracy, they are frequently not classified as volumetric devices. Next one is the volumetric flask and cylinders. Volumetric cylinders and volumetric flasks are used to measure volumes of liquid contained in them. They are calibrated for volume included, and this is indicated by the marking in. The liquid has accurate volume when it reaches the corresponding marking on the scale. Volume is usually indicated in ml. During measurement of volume, the vessel must be placed on an even horizontal support. The required volume is measured when the volume of meniscus liquid just touches the marking on the vessel. Cylinders are less accurate. Volumetric flasks are used for preparation of solutions of exact concentrations. Cylinders are used solely for measuring volume, and they are not employed for solution or dilution or mixing.
Burettes, long graduated glass or plastic tubes with a stopcock, used mainly in titration for precise volume delivery. Volume is measured by initial and final meniscus readings. Advantage: highly accurate for the variable liquid volumes. Burettes are long tubes with a stopcock at the bottom. Primarily used in titration where you need to release liquid drop by drop. The volume is measured by checking the initial and final readings of the meniscus. They are very accurate for delivering variable amounts of liquid. Glass pipe, long narrow tube, may be volumetric, fixed volume, or graduated. Volume range into 1 to 100 ml, replaced by micropipes into metal tubs. Important: never aspirate by mouth pipe filters. Glass pipes, long narrow tube which can be volumetric for one fixed volume or graduated for a variable volumes. They usually range from 1 to 100 ml. In modern labs, they are often replaced by micropipes. It's important that liquid are never aspired by mouth pipe. Fillers are used instead. Microsyringe. Small syringe with fine needle and piston. Volume range 0.1 to 1000 microliter. Used in chromatography, spectroscopy, or handling rare samples. Different design depending on liquid properties. Microsyringe are used for a very small and precise liquid volumes, from 0.1 to 1000 microliters. They consist of a fine needle with a piston inside a glass cylinder. They are often used in chromatography or when handling expensive or rare samples. The piston dispenser. Piston mechanism attached to stock container for repetitive dispensing of same volume. Made of borosilicate glass, PTFE, PE, or PP for safety. Commonly used for strong acid or solvents. Piston dispenser are attached to a stock bottle or flask and are used for a repetitive dispensing of the same volume. They are especially used for handling strong acids, solvents, or hazardous liquid. Their construction materials like borosilicate glass and the PTFE make them safe for aggressive chemicals. Pipeters. According to the way of operation, manual and electronic pipeters can be distinguished. The manual pipeters and the electronic pipeters. Pipeters or micropipes are modern instruments for measuring very small volumes in microliters. They can be manual or electronic. According to the principle of operation, pipeters can be divided into two big groups. First, the air displacement pipeters. Principles of so-called air cushion is employed in this type of pipes. Can be designed as a single channel or as a multi-channel. Air displacement pipeters work using an air cushion between the piston and the liquid. When the piston moves, it pushes or pulls the air, and this air in turn moves the liquid. Because of this principle, the actual volume can sometimes be affected by the liquid's density, viscosity, or even environmental factors like temperature and air pressure. These pipeters can be either single channel, which transfer one sample at a time, or multi-channel, which can handle 8 to 12 samples at once, making them useful for working or microplates. Multi-channel pipeters are intended for simultaneous. Every channel has its own piston. Micropipeters are constructed for one fixed volume. So, multi-channel pipeters are designed to transfer the same volume of liquid into several wells of a microplate at the same time. Each channel has its own piston, so you don't always need to use all 8 or 12 channels. Micropipeters can either have a fixed volume or an adjustable volume, which is set using a knob or by a changing modules. At the bottom, they use a removable tips of liquid handling, while the top knob controls the piston inside the pipeters. The second one is the positive displacement pipe thirst. Liquid is aspired into the tip without any air cushion. Positive displacement pipe thirst work differently because there is no air cushion. The piston is in direct contact with the liquid, which makes them more accurate for viscous or volatile substance. They can deliver liquid all at once or in steps. They are very useful for repetitive piping.
Ang next slide po ay magpapanood po kami ng videos ng mga measuring devices na nabanggit po kanina mula po chapter 3.
Ang Biogesic pwede sa sakit ng ulo, kahit walang laman ng tiyan. Choose Biogesic!
There are many different instruments that you will use in the lab to measure volumes. First, we have Erlenmeyer flasks and beakers. These are very good for just containers of liquids or for making a very rough measurement. Next, we have the graduated cylinder, which is good when you need a more precise measurement. It's accurate up to 0.1 milliliters. Just make sure when you're reading it that you add at eye level and are reading from the bottom of the meniscus. Next, we have volumetric pipettes. There are two in your locker. One reads 25.00 milliliters, the other two 10.00 milliliters. They're good for making repeated measurements of the same fixed volume when you need exactly that amount. There are two bulbs that we use to fill them. The one in your locker is the blue safety pipette filler, and then in the lab we also have this 3-valve ASE pipette filler. If you need to make different measurements of volume, not a fixed amount, then we have this measuring pipette, which can measure up to 0.02 milliliters. Finally, we have the burette, which measures from 0 to 50 milliliters with an accuracy of 0.02 milliliters.
Ma'am, yun na lang po. Thank you po.
Ayun, okay. So, thank you so much, Group 3. So, again, we rely on measurements all the time. So, whether it's buying groceries by weight, measuring fabric, or pumping fuel. So, knowing how these devices function help us make informed choices or avoid being misled by incorrect measurements. So, again, katulad nun sa healthcare, di ba? Correct medication doses depend on the exact measurement of mass and volume. So, in construction, kahit konting error mo lang ng length can affect the safety and durability of a structure. Kahit konti man lang yan. Okay? Yung errors or mistake nyo in either can lead to incorrect conclusion. And again, many products are priced based on quantity like liters, kilograms, or meters. So understanding measurement tools help maintain fairness in buying and selling para sa ating consumers from dishonesty practices. So again, measurement isn't just about numbers. So it's about precision, trust, and making informed decisions. So whether you're constructing a building or preparing a recipe, so the tools you use to measure play a key role in the final result. So alam mo naman dati, wala lang, lalo sa exam, di ba? Wala lang kayong unit is mali na agad. Tama yung answer pero walang unit, mali na. Okay, so ganun din sa board exam and sa work practices, ha? Okay, so yon yung remaining nyo for, I think, our 26 minutes, ibibigay ko na sa'yo. Yagan for group 3, sorry. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you po.
Thank you po, ma'am.